Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. The Minnesota Vikings have acquired an additional first-round pick, trading back into the first round and acquiring the Houston Texans' 23rd overall pick. And many are speculating this could be a move with the intention of trading somewhere into the top 10, top 5, maybe top 3, and acquiring their future NFL quarterback. And with the Patriots expected to take Drake May in all likelihood with the third overall pick, with Jaden Daniels in all likelihood going to the Washington Commanders, this puts them in an interesting spot, right? Because the Patriots have a chance to actually acquire a ton of draft capital and turn this from a multi-year rebuild to a 1 to 2 year rebuild and get out of the first or get out of the second round with key pieces addressing all of their needs, whether that's wide receiver, tackle, quarterback, tight end, you name it. The Patriots can do all of that within the first couple of rounds if they are willing to make a trade with the Minnesota Vikings. And what this trade would potentially look like is this, right? The Vikings would acquire the third overall pick. They'd probably take Drake May or J.J. McCarthy, who I'm actually starting to like a lot more, and I'm liking Drake May a little bit less. I'll get into that more next week, but right now I want to focus on what the Patriots could get in terms of draft compensation for this. Trading the third overall pick, they would get the 11th overall pick from Minnesota, which they have, the 23rd overall pick, which Minnesota just acquired from the Houston Texans, a fourth round pick. Minnesota has 2 of those this year, and then in all likelihood, either a first or a second rounder, or maybe a third, heading into the 2025 NFL draft next year, which gives them a little bit more ammunition, assuming the Patriots are still somewhere in the middle or lower end of the NFL, which I would expect them to be. They're not winning the Super Bowl this year, but they could be competitive if they pull this off correctly. And Taylor Kyles on his X account did a couple of mock drafts, and here's what he came up with if the Patriots did make that type of trade. With the 11th overall pick, they would address the wide receiver position and draft Rome Odunze. 23rd overall, Michael Penix Jr. A lot of question marks, a lot of red flags with his injury history, but if Penix didn't have that injury history, he might be a top 5 guy. Like, he is that good. You pair him with Odunze. You got those 2 Washington guys coming in. Odunze probably the second or third best receiver in this draft heading in. Then they take the I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the kid from Yale in the third round, the tackle, probably be a developmental guy. Ideally, you bring in a Tyron Smith. He sits a year, but that guy from Yale looks really good. Might actually be a starter right away. I actually skipped around. Second round pick, 34th overall, the Patriots would take Xavier Legette, the wide receiver out of South Carolina, who, in my opinion, might be the steal of the draft, right? Legette, go watch some of his highlights. Everyone knew they were throwing it to him, and he still was making spectacular catches, can do everything you ask of him. So then you got the quarterback, Penix. You get 2 receivers, Rome Odunze, Xavier Legette, and the Yale tackle, and boom, you're out of 3 rounds. Suddenly, you're off cooking with gas. Now, Kyles did another mock draft. Similar outcome, except the Patriots get the 11th overall pick, the 23rd overall pick, and a future first-round pick. Instead, at 11, they take Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia. That is a need the Patriots have. Yeah, I know they have Hunter Henry. They have Austin Hooper. Like both those guys, but Hooper's on a 1-year deal. You're going to want a guy who can develop for a year and ultimately take over that key role, especially with Hunter Henry starting to get up there in age. 23rd overall, the Patriots take A.D. Mitchell, another guy who actually may end up being the best receiver of the draft. I'm still a Marvin Harrison guy. I think the Patriots should still consider that at 3rd overall, but we come out of the 2024 NFL season and A.D. Mitchell is the best receiver. I would not be surprised. Go watch some of his highlights. The guy can do a bit of everything. I think he's a little undersized. That's why he's not up there. By undersized, I mean like he's still more than 6 feet tall, but he's not a 6'4" T. Higgins, Marvin Harrison Jr. stud. But he has the speed of a top NFL wide receiver and can adjust probably better than any player in this draft. Incredible route runner. Then Xavier Legette, again, 34th overall. Then they take 2 straight tackles. Patrick Paul out of Houston. The Dominic, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, tackle out of Kansas. So then you got 2 developmental tackles there. And then you take Jordan Travis, the quarterback out of Florida State in the 5th round, who a lot of people aren't talking about. But Travis really has great mechanics, great arm, great accuracy. A little undersized too. He's 6'1", but he could be the steal quarterback of this draft. If the Patriots are not high on Drake May or high on J.J. McCarthy, they could double dip at quarterback in the later rounds and get a Spencer Rattler, a Jordan Travis, and then you have a QB room with both of those guys and Zappy and Jacoby Brissett all competing for the top job, and maybe one of those rookies hits, maybe not in year one, but in year two. I really like this Jordan Travis guy. I need to watch a little more tape on him, but from what I've watched, he's a guy who is a real wild card, and I expect the Patriots, if they go after him and they don't want an early round quarterback, he could be a guy that really could take over as a starter after he sits for a year. So let me know what you think about Jordan Travis, because I don't know a ton about him, but what I've watched, really impressed by the guy. Nick Cattles also did a similar mock draft where the Patriots took the 11th overall pick, the 23rd overall pick in exchange for the third rounder, and then a future draft pick, and I think Minnesota's fourth rounder. Had the Patriots taking Olu Fashanu, who is probably a top 2 or 3 tackle in this draft. He's out of Penn State. Then you're getting one of the top tackles. You don't have to worry about the position. Would start week 1. Fashanu looks to be that guy. So they address tackle early instead. And then at 23 overall, they take A.D. Mitchell out of Texas. And then either with the 34th overall pick or they trade back into the first round with all the draft capital, the Patriots take Michael Penix at quarterback. And then you come out of the first round with the tackle, with the receiver, with Michael Penix Jr. All of those guys locked up on cheap 4-year rookie contracts with the ability for the guys that hit to be extended with a 5th-year option later on, assuming they turn into potential stars. And all of those guys could be potential stars, particularly Fashanu and Mitchell. And we know Michael Penix has the tools, has the capabilities. It's just, can he stay healthy? Got beat up a lot in the championship game, but really improved at not taking hits, learning to slide, being an efficient passer, has a real nice touch on the ball. I'm not as high on Penix as most people, but I would not be disappointed if that's the guy the Patriots ultimately end up taking as their next quarterback. But a lot of options here, right? I'm really excited about this idea of potentially trading back. I'm starting to warm up to it. I'm still a guy who really wants the Patriots to consider getting that number 1 wide receiver stud in Marvin Harrison Jr. at the 3rd overall pick, particularly if they are not high on Drake May. But I've been higher on Drake May than most, but I'm starting to backtrack a little, right? Like, I'm watching a little more tape, watching his footwork. I really like looking at these quarterbacks in adverse situations, right? Going on the road against a top 10, top 15 college team, tough environment. How do they perform in those type of environments? And Drake May, I'm not as impressed, right? And a guy who I'm going to, again, get into this a little bit more next week, especially if we have an off day with the Patriots where they're not making any moves. I want to break this down a little bit more. But J.J. McCarthy is really moving up the draft boards. He was a guy I envisioned the Patriots could go after early in the second round with the 34th overall pick. He's not going to be available. In fact, I think if the Patriots trade back and have the 11th overall pick, that's not going to be good enough. I think J.J. McCarthy may go in the top 5. Hell, he may go in the top 4. It may go Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy. But long story short, J.J.'s a winner. And all these other quarterbacks, really, when they're put in these adverse situations, when they're going up against top 5, top 10, top 15 teams, when they're on the road, when they're in tough environments, most of these guys haven't really pulled through in the clutch. But J.J. McCarthy has. And that's part of the reason I like him. He's a Michigan guy. Beat out a lot of people that were supposed to be ahead of him on the QB depth chart, earned the starting job. And yeah, I know there's issues with the Wolverines running the ball a lot. Didn't have to depend on him a lot. But when he had 3rd and long, when the defense knew he was throwing, McCarthy always figured out a way to convert. So I'm going to break that down more next week. But he's a guy I think the Patriots should consider even at the 3rd overall pick. And they're at least having those conversations right now. But right now, Minnesota Vikings looking to trade in to probably the top 5, maybe top 3. Patriots, they came out of the scouting combine saying, we like all these quarterbacks. We would be happy taking any of these top 3, top 4 guys. There's a reason they floated that out there, right? They want, if they do trade back, they want high value in return. This is an opportunity to get a lot from Minnesota, a rebuilding team, particularly if they not only can get the 11th overall pick, the 23rd overall pick, and can double dip in the first round if they can get a future first rounder out of it. Because Minnesota's not going to be great next year, right? Like, this could be a team that is drafting in the top 5 again. The Patriots could go into next year's draft with the top 5, top 10 pick in all likelihood, because Minnesota will not be a contender since they are in full-on rebuilding mode. Another idea, and I don't think this is going to happen, but maybe they're willing to throw Justin Jefferson in there, right? The Vikings can sit there and go, look, he's going to be the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history if we extend him. We don't really want to pay that type of cash. We want to do a rebuild from scratch. We will give you 11, 23, and Justin Jefferson. Maybe you give us a third as well or something, New England. But then you have the ability to take on a number 1 wide receiver and really spend the money on him. Now, I'd be more comfortable with the Patriots. They're willing to spend $22 million a year for Calvin Ridley, which I did not like. Glad they didn't do it. But I'd do 30 mil for Justin Jefferson, right? Like, you know he's going to be a number 1 guy. I don't think that's going to happen, though, because Minnesota doesn't have to pay Kirk Cousins now. They're eyeing a rookie quarterback who's going to be cheap for at least 4 seasons. They're going to be willing to pay Justin Jefferson with the amount of cap space that they're going to have left, not having to pay Kirk Cousins. I don't think they're trading Jordan Addison either, who had a really great rookie season. But it's something to worth consider, right? You know, at least the Patriots should have those conversations. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like this idea of the Patriots potentially trading back with a team like Minnesota and double dipping in the first round, maybe even triple dipping if they trade back in late, taking that quarterback? Who would you like to see them draft? Let me know in the comments below. And just want to say this channel is really starting to expand quite a bit. You know, we've made a lot of videos lately, a lot of podcasts, and starting to grow. I've had more engagement, more viewership in the last 28 days than I did the 4 months prior to that. I expect that to continue to grow, but it's all because of you. So thank you. Be sure to continue to like these videos, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and share it with your friends. This is not my day job. This is really just something I do as a hobby, but it could turn into a real side hustle very soon with the way this channel is growing. So again, keep liking these videos, keep subscribing, keep boosting us in the YouTube and podcast algorithms. And we'll be back maybe this weekend or at least next week with more Patriots breaking news, more draft coverage, more free agency coverage. Are they going to go after Tyron Smith? Hopefully we get some news there very soon, but we'll be here to cover it the rest of the way.